Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And in this video, I wanted to talk about what the next generation wireless competition could look like. So we keep talking about competition from a network standpoint, but I don't think we've talked about really what the wireless competition for the next generation could transition into. What I mean by that, so in the later part of the LTE, we saw the wireless competition spike up in terms of value. If you guys remember early on in the 3G and the early LTE days, value wasn't really a thing. We didn't really get much back when we had minutes. I think the only value that we got that on a certain day, if I remember correctly, after a certain time, your minutes became unlimited. But before that, you had to pay with minutes every time you called. It was like 1,500 minutes, and every minute on the call, it went towards that, and that became unlimited after a certain time. So that's kind of the value where it kind of started. And then T-Mobile with the Un-carrier movement really took that competition of value to a whole nother level. And then after that, AT&T and Verizon kind of tagged along. So now that we lost Sprint, we are, as of today, still, we are three carriers. We know Dish has to step in at some point, but they have not yet. We have heard nothing of Dish. We don't know what their play is. We have some hints. We have some ideas. We can speculate, but we have heard nothing concrete from Dish Network in terms of how they're going to enter the postpaid side, what kind of plans, and what kind of value proposition. We have heard nothing. So for now, we are a three carrier industry. And I know Dish is coming, but for the next generation wireless competition, how does that shape up? So of course, I'm going to give you my input, my opinion. I want to hear from you guys in the comment section down below on how do you guys feel the wireless competition is going to go for the next generation. I think the value play is big now. I think T-Mobile made it big. Verizon recently just took that to another level. So before, we would likely get one streaming entertainment, such as Netflix on T-Mobile. If you want to consider Quibi as part of that, sure. I have no interest in that service. I know it is another streaming platform, so you could technically say T-Mobile has two platforms of streaming. I'm just not interested in that service, but that's fine. We can go with that. We could say T-Mobile has two streaming platforms as a value proposition offer. So Verizon just recently stepped up and they gave us three. They gave us Disney Plus, which they already had. They made that permanent. I always thought that they would make that permanent. There was no doubt in my mind that Verizon would make Disney Plus permanent. So then they added Hulu, which is starting to pick up steam. A lot of people are interested in the platform. There's lots of good original content. They have some original Marvel content. So Hulu is getting to become a bigger platform. Not as big as Netflix, of course, but it's sparking more interest within the industry. And then the last one that they added was ESPN Plus. ESPN Plus is valuable for a lot of people that are into boxing, that are into UFC, because the content that is streamed on the ESPN Plus app, which is a separate subscription, you do not get that content on your ESPN. So your regular ESPN channel that you may have on your cable provider with your cable provider, does that same content that you get on the subscription ESPN Plus does not appear on the regular ESPN channel. So that's where that value proposition is even bigger for Verizon. So them putting that out into the market, there's a little bit of something for everybody. You may not like Disney, you may not like Hulu, you may like ESPN Plus. And then for some of you that don't like ESPN Plus, you're going to like Hulu or you're going to like Disney Plus. There's something in there for everybody. I don't think there's somebody that could just come and say, I don't like any of these. There's just no way. Disney Plus has a lot of big content that we're all familiar with and used to. Hulu is starting to get that traction on the original content that we're all used to. And then ESPN Plus, of course, we're all used to the sports and the UFC. So that's all getting bigger and bigger and bigger attention. And I think Verizon made a very smart move to really push that value. But now that we're on the value talk, do you guys think for the next generation wireless competition that value is going to play a big part? Just keep in mind and remember, value is good for the consumer, but it costs the carriers money. They have to pay through a partnership to make this possible. So T-Mobile has to pay Netflix a certain amount for its customers to stream it on their service. Verizon has to, of course, pay Disney a certain amount of money for its customer to stream it on their service. And then AT&T, they own their own content, so they give you HBO Max, which they own. They give you AT&T TV, and then they have DirecTV. They have all these owned streaming service that they own, and we could see potentially in the future with the new plans that are on the way, we could see AT&T really spark competition, or we could see, okay, they kind of just matched or got close to what Verizon is doing. Now we want to wait and see what T-Mobile is going to counter offer to that. So it could go one or two ways for AT&T. I think they could, maybe AT&T with the new plans, they could spark the next generation of wireless competition. Who knows? We don't know what they're cooking behind closed doors. They could be like, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to include HBO Max, which we're already doing. If you become our wireless customer, you get AT&T TV 50% off as a wireless customer permanently. And then they could include unlimited hotspot, up 100 gigabytes before deprioritization. There's a lot of stuff that AT&T could do with the amount of capacity that they put into the market to really spark competition. There's also been rumors and talks that AT&T could become the price leader going into the next generation of wireless competition. A couple of months back, I made a video on it. There were a couple of shareholders and board members that stepped in. If you guys remember the Elliott Management Group that has stake in AT&T, they told AT&T, hey guys, you guys need to cut the fat. We need to cut pricing. We need to become more competitive. And I think they could do that. I think AT&T could realistically become the price leader going into the next generation of wireless competition. That would be something unheard of, but look at where we are now with the value proposition. Who would have ever thought that Verizon brings a Disney bundle into the wireless market? We wouldn't have never thought that a couple of years back. Verizon and AT&T really never included much in terms of value proposition into their plans. That didn't start until T-Mobile started going with that, and they started growing and growing and growing. Then Verizon and AT&T were scratching their heads, and they were like, oh man, we got to bring unlimited back, and we got to start including the value to get the switchers to come to us, because if not, we're going to start losing many, many more customers to T-Mobile. So both AT&T and Verizon became more flexible in that department, but now hopefully we're going to see one or the other spark the next generation of wireless competition. I think Verizon started ahead of time. I think they did it a lot sooner than they originally anticipated. T-Mobile probably was blindsided by it. They were supposedly going to spark that competition under the new T-Mobile. The 4 lines for 25, I guess you could say that was a good start in terms of them preaching about them lowering pricing going into that next generation. But Verizon said, look, we got a play to make. We're going to make that play, and we're going to see how you guys react to it. And they dropped the hammer. It was a mic drop moment. They said Disney Plus bundle includes Hulu and ESPN Plus, free for our customers on the Play More and the Get More. I mean, that right there was a mic drop moment, in my opinion. And I think everyone else is still in meetings. Last I heard, they're still analyzing. It's the plan that includes Disney bundle just started on the 20th. So all the carriers are looking at port ratios and they're tracking that, and they will be tracking that over the next week. So just keep that in mind. There's a lot of analyzing to do as a business to see if you really want to respond. But I think if people were on the verge of switching or they've been wanting to switch, I think Verizon just made it a whole lot easier for those people to switch on over to Verizon network. And I think AT&T and T-Mobile are going to start seeing the port outs happen, and those will likely go to Verizon. So I think the value proposition is here to stay, and I think Verizon just solidified that. If everyone else responds to Verizon, I think that value proposition is going to continue spiking into the next generation. Now, do you guys think that the pricing will go up for the carriers? So I know I just said that AT&T's board of directors and the investors want them to cut pricing, but I think from a standpoint of how much it is going to cost the carriers, not only to offer the value, but to really push the next generation networks. So like I said, we got a next generation of networks happening, and it seems we're now also heading into a next generation of wireless competition. Now, the networks, it's going to be very expensive. We're talking millimeter wave, we're talking mid-band capacity. To successfully build the type of mid-band capacity that the carriers are looking for, you have to build the infrastructure. I don't think, in my opinion, the T-Mobile layover is going to work to a certain extent. Remember, the network, the way it is currently built for T-Mobile, it is not built to carry that many customers that they're gaining. The network was built for the amount of customers that T-Mobile had, not that they have now with the Sprint merger. In a lot of markets, the networks are built according to the market share that they have accumulated in the market. So say T-Mobile had 25% market share in that market. With Sprint, they now have 35-40%. They just increased the market share drastically on a network grid that was built for a 25% market share. Just keep that in mind. Over the next few months, you're going to start seeing that the layover is going to increase the speeds due to the capacity, but it may not be so transformational that you guys are thinking. I talk to engineers on the daily. I have meetings, I have calls with them, and they tell me we could see 200, 300, 500 even on the speeds. But remember, for now, they only have migrated 10% of Sprint's customer base. Once that migration is bigger and bigger and bigger, the network is going to suffer. On the contrary, Verizon and AT&T have built their networks according to their market share. So in a lot of markets where AT&T has 40, 50% market share, they have built the network according to that size. So the network is only going to get better because now they're concentrating and building small cells, which T-Mobile had to stop. They're building new sites, which T-Mobile stated on the earnings call clearly they are stopping new site builds. That is what ticked off the tower companies, because separate Sprint and T-Mobile had plans to expand the networks. So now all of a sudden you combine those two companies. T-Mobile says we are stopping our tower build at least for the next 2 years as we plan this this integration of the networks. We have to go to all cell sites. We have to build. They have to build. So what I mean by build, they have to rip and replace, because now they're adding the 2.5. Neville Ray stated that all 2.5 sites get a backup generator, which that is going to prolong that process. So he stated himself on the earnings call that it's going to take them 7 to 10 days to be at that one site that's going to get that layover. Tower technicians telling me it's 14 plus days. So there is a little confusion there. It's kind of like who's lying, but just keep in mind, it's not going to be a day or two. It's going to be at least a week plus. So this is going to take them a long time, while AT&T and Verizon are perfecting the network for its user base that they have already built for. The T-Mobile grid, the way it stands today, they have not built for that type of traffic influx that they're going to gain from the Sprint merger. So just keep that in mind as we get into the next generation of wireless competition. T-Mobile could experience a big churn spike because of the fact that they are gaining customers that they, in reality, in theory, can't handle. They can't handle that type of influx. Even with the 2.5, you have a small period of time that you can say, look, customer, you migrate to the standalone 5G, you will have a better experience. But how long is that going to last until more and more customers are on that side of the network, and that also slows down? You have to build the additional densification to offset that traffic increase. And early on, T-Mobile is likely not going to be able to do that at a much faster pace than they needed. So just keep that in mind. I just wanted to, again, make this video tonight, kind of seeing your guys' point of view on the next generation of wireless competition. Do you guys think it's going to stay on the course of the value proposition? Could we have a price cut across the entire industry? Likely not happening, as everything else is getting more expensive surrounding the wireless industry. The networks, the manufacturing, the panels, all that is getting more expensive. So likely not going to see a drastic cut in price, but who knows? We don't know what could happen, but the competition is definitely needed. I think Dish has to come in and be that disruptor. I think they have no other way to, in terms of being competitive, there's no other way for them but to be disruptive. If they come in, they offer similar pricing to the big three, it's just not going to be the case. They're not going to gain anything. Remember, they're running off of T-Mobile for the next 7 years, so they have to hope and pray that T-Mobile can get this network situation straightened out so their customers have a decent experience on a network that they're running off of an MVNO deal. And then in the meantime, Dish has to build their own network. So Dish is going to be busy building their own network for a certain period of time while T-Mobile is fixing theirs. So, I mean, there's just an influx of traffic for T-Mobile from all angles. They have other additional MVNO partnerships. They got Dish now. That's part of that partnership. They're trying to, migrate the Sprint customer over to their network. I mean, they're just trying to do a lot of things all at once. So again, let me know in the comment section down below. Do you think T-Mobile has gotten too big in terms of saying like, hey, we're getting ahead of ourselves, we're doing too much, we need to slow it down? Or do you think they're perfectly fine, they're right on track, they're doing everything the way it's supposed to go? Let me know in the comment section down below based on what I just told you guys is happening. And then let me know if you think Verizon and At&T are on par of becoming more consumer friendly. You could say Verizon is doing that. The value is increasing. They're doing things. They have their customer service, the app. All of that is an experience that you get. I know At&T is not the best right now at customer service, but they're working on it. They're fixing that. They're fixing the billing system. So we'll see what that looks like, say, next year, early next year. But for now, they're fixing that. So everybody is doing something, as their own respective change in the wireless industry. So At&T improving the network, expanding. They got FirstNet. They're fixing the billing system while still incorporating value. Verizon, clearly, they're improving their value proposition. T-Mobile is all over the place. Network integration. They're trying to convert the stores. The Sprint stores that are being converted are going to get a complete overhaul. They're going to get, apparently, they have $1 billion set aside for ripping the floor out, putting the wood floor in, changing the actual sign. I mean, T-Mobile is just doing a lot of things. They're still doing LTE modifications. So people have reported to me that T-Mobile just within the last week or so put up a new site that they spent money on, and there's no 5G going up on that site. So T-Mobile, just a mess at the moment. They're doing a whole lot. We'll see what it looks like 12 months from now. But right now, I think T-Mobile just has too much to handle, if you ask me. But again, leave all your comments and opinions in the comment section down below. If you have been on the channel, make sure you like, share, subscribe. And then, if you're new to the channel, if you have been on the channel, you can go ahead and end this video now. But if you are new and you look forward to updates and videos like these, make sure you hit the notification bell after you like, share, subscribe, so you can get notified via YouTube when I do drop videos. If YouTube doesn't push the notifications in a timely manner, make sure you follow my Twitter. I do post the videos on the Twitter as well. Thank you guys for watching. This is Tyrone with Tech Life, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.